Hey guys, H-Drive here, and then we have a deck profile for you all. It's with the team diagram Muzica as the main starter. I wanted to get these deck profiles just before set 2 comes out, because I do like what they currently are. There's probably a whole bunch of different things with it, but I'm going to go with these ones. Once again, these are all just my playthroughs, and then if you always want to change it, you can always change it. So this deck is basically a mid-range value deck, so we're going to start with your main grade 3s. Muzica, the grade 3 says when it enters the field, you grab a Signy without, just a Signy from your graveyard to your hand. And then it also has -2 to your opponent's center during your turn. And then the once per game action is returning a size 1 Elric from your board back to the deck. So you just play some value, draw some cards, and maybe gain some gauge depending on what you do. Primarily, it is a mid-range deck with uses the Enter as a second resource if you ever need it. So second would be Muzica. I use the Trial Deck Float to discard 1, draw 3, as it is the strongest Muzica we have. And then we have Clap, which is the triple tapper for your colors. You can tap it down by enters, you can tap it down by discarding 2 cards in your hand, or you could just pay a blue and 2. So I personally like the more variety of the toolkit, just because you need to recur as much value as you can, and that is pretty much it. We next play is Sangha. We play Swing to gain some enter from your drop zone to your enter zone, because Gauge is really good, and then you can always set it up properly. I also play Parallel just for that early flip if I ever need to use it, as well as the early board presence. So it's a lot of value you get from your Elrigs. And then we always play the Salvage the Future and the Kurina, which is the Gate Enter Charge and Draw card, or Draw and Enter Charge. It's really good to fill up with 2 resources, and this is always good just because you need to recur 3 things, or sometimes if you're playing against the Lion matchup, Mill 15 is surprisingly really good. So these are the 2 pieces that I play. And now to the main deck. The main deck is very, because it has the Enter Gauge as a second resource, I don't play a lot of 4-0s. Right here, Langley's at 3 of, just because I always find at least one of her in one of the zones. If I ever need to grab her, you can. What she does is -5 for paying a black, or if you have 20 or more, you do -10 instead. And then when you attack, you can either mill yourself for 5, or you mill your opponent for 5. It's really good to increase your numbers in your drop zone, just to gain some more things, or to mill out your opponent, just like in the Lion matchup. Part 1 of 2 of the stars is Saturn. Saturn makes all your level 2s and higher level 1s, and then it also, surprisingly, it also has another land text, is your opponent can't target your level 1s. That's not as relevant in this deck, but it sometimes matters. Has a nice trigger ability of either drawing a card or tapping to your opponent's things down. It's also a blue resource, so you'll always be able to see this for your Muzica Collapse ability. Next is to Osuksune. Pumps your 2 dudes by 5,000. And then at the beginning, when it attacks, if you have Enter Charge from your deck this turn, you may pay 1 in a green to banish a unit that's 12,000 more. It's really good against the Rise matchups, as well as this grade 3 matchups, and some big dudes. It's very nice, just as a defensive trick, to pump your dudes by 5 so they don't die over. I play 2 just because it's a nice special tech. We also play 2 Dark Energize. It's a nice tech as well. It does -5 for black, and then when your opponent's dudes hit to 0 power, or one of your opponent's Signies hit to 0, you Enter Charge 1 once per turn. It's really good in the early game, not as good as late. That's why I play 2 of right now. Also, 10,000 power is not the sharpest tool. And we do play Kawasaki Code Maze. Maze is really good because it has a trigger ability, was when you add a Signy without G to your trash from your hand or to the field. So you always make a resource back when you trigger her. And when she is sacked for a cost or ability, when she's go to the graveyard for a cost or an effect, You may pay a colorless. If you do, you res a size 2 black creature from your graveyard to the board. It's really good. It also has for a unanswered effect, you can put target card without a G from your trash into your inner zone. So it rearranges your gauge a little bit. It's really good combining with Paimons, which I do play. It's also a really good trigger ability. This will get changed because I think I am slowly leaning towards a different engine in the next set. And next we have the one of Robin Hood. Robin Hood's always really good as a one of. When he's by himself, you can pay a green and a colorless to wipe your opponent's board into their gauge. And then you can always lock your board if you ever have more. It's a really good top deck answer in the late game. And then if you ever need it, you can always reoccur it back. Next for the size 2s, part 2 of the Dang Zex engine is Gap. Gap is really good. It brings back a non-black or colorless level 1 from your drop zone to the board by paying a colorless. And has a trigger ability of a black and a colorless to -12. It's really good with Saturn, because with Saturn and her, you can bring back a size 3 if you have a limit of 11, or a size 2 if you have a limit, oh sorry, not 11, of 8. If you have a size of 7, you can always bring it back a level 2. It's always really good, because GOP will target those units in your drop that are level 1s. When I say with Saturn, Saturn makes your level 2s and level 3s only in your deck or your drop to level 1s. On the boards, they do not count as level 1s. So if you don't have that limit and you try to do it, the game will not let you do it. I had to do a little bit of research to make sure that this works. I believe it does. I'm not a pro judge. If there are pro judges that know better rulings, let me know in the comments below. See if I am right or wrong. So there's that. Next we have 2 Paimons. As of set 1, the Paimon package is really good because you get some free value with it. You have a package in grade 1 and grade 3. The 3 is with the Labyrinth, and then the grade 1 is with another card you'll see eventually. 2 of it's fine because you don't want to see her too early, and then in the late game, it's not as bad. And then, again, you'll go through your resources a lot more faster. You'll be able to see at least 2. And we always play vanillas, but in the grade 2 slots we only play 2 Cobras, because I think there are better defensive units in this deck. But having the 2 10Ks always help in the aggressive mirrors and then setting up walls. And then the other 2 copies, our great mirrors, are Kiyosime. Kiyosime is a 12K if she's in the center. And then on place, you can rearrange your opponent's board. So if you place her and then you have your grade 3 Muzica on your board, this allows you to rearrange your board. And then if they have a 2000 or less powered dude, that dies to state-based actions. And then it has a trigger ability of Inner Charge 1, and the next Signy attack that afflicts you is negated. So it's a really good early game if you hit it. It's fairly late. In the late game is really good as well. But as the last attack for your Signy is not as great, the best thing you get is a Inner Charge 1. And Inner Charging is really good for this style of deck. Next I play 2 Coxias Azole Angel. Has a really good defensive trigger ability. Down target Signy, your opponent controls and freeze it, then you draw 1. And whenever it's placed on the board, you may freeze target Signy. It's really good because this is also a good gap target, as it is a blue Signy, as well as with the angel stuff coming out, it's also an angel, so you get to see with the Jade Angel that if you have her in your gauge is really good. You don't play as many blue sources, so this is one of the other ones. So next we have Servant Pounds, the RPGs. If you play Vanguard, it's also multi-enter in your gauge. It's really good. You even add a Signy from your trash day hand when you trigger it. Always play 4. Sometimes you might play 2. Sometimes you can play 8 if we have different names, but they're not going to give us that for a while. So you play the 4. It's really good to protect your Signys or protect your Elrics, and it's always great. Next is 4 of Green Gas. Green Gas is the 4 of in this deck. Just because your grade 1 counts are pretty low, and then multicolor I usually play around 4 to 6. It changes depending on how much you need to see in the deck, and the metas. I think in the early rush metas, I think I would like to see that just to clean up a little bit, and just beaters are just usually just good. Just vanilla beaters are always good. Next we have Jade Angel. If you have 3 or more angels in your gauge, you gain plus 4,000. I use a lot of other different card game terms just because I play multiple card games and it's how I refer to. It also has a trigger ability of Inner Charge 2, and then you add up to 1 target Signy. This is a really strong keymaker, just because it allows you to like Inner Charge 2 and fixes your hand, your gauge with the card that you need for the next level of steps. And it's really good just as a basic 7k vanilla. So I actually like this. I think I will start leaning towards the Angel package once the next set comes out. Next is the next piece of the Paimon package is 3 Jades. Jade Evil, Muzica. When it enters the board, you may mill a card from your deck and give a dude plus 3,000. And then if it's once again sent to the graveyard by costume or effect, you may enter charge 1. This is really good with Paimons. It's also really good because it pumps your dude. And sometimes if you play against like reactive like destroy abilities, if they are not green, giving that extra 3k makes it beat the thresholds. So it's always really good to beat over thresholds, especially with just a size 1. And the final card of this deck is the Azole Angel Nahord, which is on attack. You may draw a card. If you do, you discard 1. It is blue, so you play about 6 blue sources because you rarely go into it with your Muzica, but it does get changed up a little bit. It's really strong because it's also an angel, so if you play like your blue angels are usually, or your angels are usually in blue and black, and then you have some other things as well. This is what the current deck is right now. I personally like this style of deck after maybe like a good solid, maybe like month or 2 playtesting it. It's really good. Definitely helps against Lion. It kind of deals up pretty well with the other top decks as well. So I've heard, but I personally like this. This will get changed eventually in the future, but we'll see by this next set. As always, do the social media things, do the like things, do the things. There won't be as many videos because I do stream on Twitch as well. Non-card game stuff, maybe some card game stuff on Twitch at HDrive0. So if you guys want to check that out on Twitch, you can. And this has been Robert with his deck profile on Muzica. You'll have a nice day. Bye-bye!